Start serving the booze. Okie dokie. Suppose it's time to get this show on the road. Can't hear me. 1 second. Let us sort that. You should be hearing me. Okay, so, all right, Stephen, it might be an issue on your end then, because everyone else says that they can. So, all right. Oh, sorry. For some reason, I thought you said you okay, so you can see it. My brain turned that into a negative out of nowhere. I don't know why. Welcome. And yes, cheers to you as well, Gozer. Thank you, Meg. I haven't worn this in quite a while. So thought that was nice to bust out. I also just barely shot a TikTok in it, so there's that too. Getting drunk? No, I am not. I will be enjoying my time with you folks, but I'm not getting drunk. And just for the record, it's not just a top; it's a full dress, which makes it slightly more acceptable that I'm not wearing pants than is normally the case. Not that I don't wear pants when I shoot or stream. Of course, I do. Hope everybody is doing well. I got great news. I finally got my PS5 after 3 years of waiting, and a new cat named Cheshire. Chess for short. Oh, that's great, Logan. I'm really happy for you. Spending the night in London. Just saw The Woman in Black play. It's excellent. I'd really like to see that play. Like I know the movie, and I like the movie a lot, but I'd be curious to see how the play is. Any plans for the new year? Oh yeah, lots. Like I have things. It's not like complete everything I'm gonna do, but like I have things on my docket planned out into August. Yes, I have plenty of plans. Oh, hey, Philip Hawkins. Good to see you. I see you stopping in. Americans are getting DHMIS. Avalance, acronyms and abbreviations are really bad. My brain doesn't catch most of them unless I'm like already super familiar with them. So I don't know what that is. I'm sorry to make you type stuff all the way out, but I don't know what that is. I look like I could be a cat person. I'm lacking the ears. My sister got me a DC-themed cookbook. I'm not kidding. That sounds terrifying. Also potentially fascinating. Would I be interested in playing Sonic Frontiers? No, absolutely not. And that's nothing against Sonic. I don't have any particular nostalgia for Sonic. The thing is, like, fully rendered 3D, like, free roaming camera games, they make me motion sick. And I think something, especially with the speed of Sonic, I would get motion sick very quickly. So no, that is a hard no. Don't hug me, I'm scared. I knew it was gonna be something I recognized once you told me. I never really watched the YouTube shorts of it. It seems like one of those things that, like, I totally get why people are very into it. It doesn't, the little bits I've seen don't really seem like my cup of tea. So, am I going to watch the ball drop? Most likely, yeah. A geeky cookbook could be fun. Make a themed dinner party. Yeah, potentially. I can make Batman cupcakes. So, Is there anything in particular that makes them Batman other than like the design? Are you meant to include like the kind of non-pearls that look like pearls? So you like have the busted pearl necklace on them? Sorry, that's kind of awful. Blue dress, blue glasses, decked out in blue tonight. I know, right? I match and everything. It's great. August, we need to have a schedule filling conversation. We do, Carowin, absolutely. And like, I don't mean like I have every week planned out into August, because I don't. But there are some things that like if I do that, that would be the big thing for that month. So I've like paced those out. But like a lot of these could be moved. It's a rough sketch. We'll go over it. That's fair. It's pretty specific style-wise. Yeah, I really have had to completely abandon fully 3D games. Like I might dip back into them. So like, what was it? I think it was Tinykin. I saw some gameplay footage for, and that didn't seem to bother me too much. I think it's because the character sprite is 2D and stays turned at the same angle to the camera. So like I might be able to do that one. The issue for me is it's not, while speed compounds it, that's not even the only factor, because I got motion sick playing the Stanley Parable, which isn't even like a fast, the camera whips around kind of thing. And I still got motion sick. My partner got me copies for the scripts for Smith and Jones, The One Who Fell to Earth, and His Dark Materials signed by various cast and crew. Oh, wow, Cara, that's great. That's really thoughtful. Hope that I enjoyed my Christmas. I did enjoy my Christmas. It was quite nice. It's a family event, so, excuse me. It was lovely. Are Batman cupcakes just cupcakes that Alfred makes, but Batman takes public credit for? Love it. Love it, Meg. What are my thoughts on old comics from the late 90s, early 2000s, like No Man's Land, Nightwing, Officer Down? Okay, you seem to be zooming in on Batman specifically. I haven't read a ton of them. I did like No Man's Land. I thought that was pretty good. But like I had kind of fallen off comics by the late 90s. I was reading them regularly in the early mid 90s. By late 90s, I'd fallen off them. So, haven't read a ton of stuff from that era. Let's see. Our philosophy is, thank you so very much for the super chat. A reminder, super chat. While I do try and keep up with the chat, otherwise I do not guarantee that I will read a comment if it is not as part of a super chat, but the super chat also gets you a heart of appreciation from me to you. Hiya. By don't talk about the timeless child, do you mean avoid the subject entirely, or could it actually be contradicted if relevant in future, i.e. the doctor calls Hartnell his first life again? So, all right. I have said that my personal preference for how to deal with the timeless child in Doctor Who is to ignore it. To basically treat it exactly the same way that the show treated the Doctor is half human idea that came from the TV movie. Just don't bring it up again. Don't deal with it. Leave it alone. Now, in regards to what you're specifically talking about, the thing is, like, I can't think of too many instances where it's actually super plot relevant to specifically label something like Hartnell as the first life. I think the only time I can think of where, or at least the most recent time that was super relevant was Twice Upon a Time. And even then, like, you could bring it up and it's theoretically not a complete contradiction, because to the Doctor's memory, it was their first life. Even if the Doctor now understands that there were more lives prior to that, the fact is they don't remember them. So I think it's fair to still call that the first life. But again, I don't think there are very many story instances where you actually have to number it. You can just reference like in another life, in an older life, in an earlier life. I don't think you have to go out of your way to number it most of the time. And the only reason it was important in Twice Upon a Time was because, you know, contrasting this reservation to regeneration with the very first time that the Doctor went through that was actually relevant. Again, first time that you remembered is the situation we're now in. But, like, I don't think that there's necessarily a problem or that it even is a flat-out contradiction to continue, for the Doctor even, to continue to call Hartnell their first life, because it is still their first remembered life. Supreme Omega, thank you very much for the super chat. Thoughts on Doctor Who Christmas specials? So, I know in the past that I have said I don't really like the Christmas specials all that much. The thing is, I've kind of softened on that. Not to say I like them better, but I don't think I hold them to the same standard as the rest of the show, which is what I used to do. And that was the primary basis on which I would say I don't really like them all that much. And while I do think it is a little bit of an excuse to just offer a reason of why you're going to grade something on a curve, sometimes you just do it anyways. And, you know, part of me still goes like, well, you're just allowing something to have a lower standard because, oh, it's the Christmas specials, they're different. But I mean, they are. So yeah, I'm while they are rarely particularly high ranking episodes for me, they are still enjoyable, and I feel kinder towards them than I have historically. Let's see. What's my most touching Christmas present ever? This year, the emotional counselor I go to gave me a culture-themed mug, which because I've told her what it means to me so many times. Oh, that's really nice. Unfortunately, with the way my brain tends to work, I'm really bad at answering that, because I know what things are presents, or like that I own that were presents, and I can usually remember who from. But remembering whether it was birthday, whether it was Christmas, it all gets muddled. And most touching is difficult to parse. I will say the one that like was probably the quintessential Christmas gift for me, the one that like when I think about what Christmas felt like immediately comes to my head, was when I would have been 7, I think, and I got for Christmas not only a Nintendo Entertainment System, but no, it wasn't even 7. I was 6. No, I was 7. I got a Nintendo Entertainment System, a bunch of games for it, and a subscription to Nintendo Power, which I had for years and years and years, and I've still got those issues packed up in the attic somewhere. All that stuff together, like that is what I tend to think of when I think of Christmas. Anything I'm looking forward to in 2023? Yeah, there's a handful of things. The main thing that jumps to mind is, there's the Doctor Who specials, obviously, but there's also Across the Spider-Verse. I'm not going to do a most anticipated of 2023 list this year. I have historically done those. I'm not doing it for 2 reasons. The first is they were never particularly well-viewed videos. And the other thing is, between the fact that stuff keeps moving, like Across the Spider-Verse was on my list for this year, but it got bumped. So stuff keeps moving. And on top of that, there's going to be a bunch of stuff that I don't even know is coming out. It's a list that really only works for the kinds of movies that get announced years in advance. And that's like Marvel, DC, Star Wars and that kind of thing. And honestly, I'm not super looking forward to the films in those franchises right now anyways. Like, I'm still looking forward to them, but not in a, ooh, let's count down how excited I am kind of way. So it's not an idea that I have as much enthusiasm for. And, excuse me. And in addition to that, like I said, just at a base level, those videos never got that many views. Favorite Christmas food? Nostalgically for me, because my grandmother would make these every year, it is popcorn balls, which are just popped popcorn pressed together with molasses into a ball that you just eat. Yeah, I have a lot of nostalgia wrapped up in that. Oh, sorry. Part of the raspberry got lost. Do you think Daredevil will work now that the new series has been reported to be kid-oriented? I haven't been following the production. I suspect kid-orientated is probably an overstatement. I think it's probably much more likely to be, PG-13, like most of the Marvel stuff is, as opposed to the distinctly R that the Netflix version was. I think Daredevil as a character will adapt just fine. Because the thing is, while I don't think there was anything wrong with it going that way, Daredevil, definitely of the Netflix characters, was the one who probably needed the extra level of violence the least. Well, maybe Iron Fist. But those two didn't really need it. Luke Cage, because of the nature of not just depicting that part of New York, but talking about the violence of the Black experience specifically, kind of needed it a bit more. And Jessica Jones, given the very heightened emotional and traumatic sexual violence that goes on in that needed to be marked for older audiences. But Daredevil, you could adapt down relatively easily. You just have his punch-ups result in more bruises and less blood. I don't honestly think it's going to be that big of a shift. Now, whether or not they ever try and bring the Punisher over, that one might be a problem. Because even if you don't do it super bloody, his whole deal is that he kills people. That's his entire log line. Favorite Doctor Who Christmas special? Depending on when you ask me, my answer probably changes. I think it's probably Husbands of River Song. But like I said, my answer will change depending on when you ask me. Tried to watch Spirited on Apple TV multiple times. I love Christmas stuff and Ryan and Will, but I can't stomach it. Oof. I saw not even complete trailers. I saw bits of trailers and I was like, pass. That's a pass. Have I ever had a Secret Santa? Yeah, usually at work-related things. Did you go to Gallifrey 1? Jodie's so lovely it comes. I hope you get to meet her one day. I did go this 2022. I did go. She was not present for that one. I believe she's going to be at the one coming, which I'm not going to because I can't afford it for the upcoming one. But I've been to Gallifrey 1 twice, and it's been lovely. Do you feel Doctor Who should use the concept of time travel more conceptually? Big Finish uses cerebral idea of paradoxes and rewriting time and erasing events and people more explicitly. I would say a little more than it currently does, but I also don't want that to become the standard of what Doctor Who on TV is. But they could stand to do it a little more than they do, provided they have inventive things to do with it. Because there are still patterns and ruts you can get caught into. With the DC situation in such flux, it's impossible to predict what's coming. Yeah, there's that. There's that too. Let's see. Oh, Angus, thank you very much for the super chat. If you re-ranked the Christmas holiday specials, would you include Spyfall Part 1, as it is, of course, the first episode of Series 12, just going out on New Year's Day? I would not. It is episode, because even though that release on New Year's Day, it wasn't a special, it was the start of the series. So, no, I would not include that because regardless of when it aired, it wasn't a special. It was just the premiere episode. So, if I ever do have I done a ranking of the Christmas specials? I must have at some point. If I ever do a re-rank, maybe for next Christmas, no, that would not be included. Popcorn balls sound delicious. I rather like them. Are you planning to ever redo your top 10 worst episode list for modern Doctor Who? Eventually. Yeah, eventually I will. I think I want to get a little bit more distance from the Chibnall Whittaker era, because I know there's some episodes that are gonna end up on it. I just don't want it to be biased against those. So like I need that distance a little bit. Let's see. Do you still identify with your male name? I've forgotten what it is, but just curious. Yeah. I use Vera in a lot more places now just because at a certain point it becomes easier. And it's Nathaniel for the record, which I'll say because it's not a dead name. It's another name. But as time has gone on and I've allowed, as my more femme presenting self has become the standard me, just sort of having Vera be the more unified name that I use across platforms, it just kind of felt like the easier and more natural thing to do. There like wasn't any plan and then I will fully phase out Nathaniel. Like, that's not on my to-do list or anything. Have I ever seen D23? Nope, have zero interest. Got a jet, season's greetings. Okay, Meg, it was good to see you. Thank you for stopping in. Will Ferrell's a little bit hit or miss for me. Will Ferrell's a little bit miss or oh, that kind of hit for me. So, What are my top 5 anime? Generally when people say anime, they mean anime shows. I don't even think... No, I guess I have seen 5 all the way through. I'm not sure if I'd have what I'd call a top 5. I can give you a top 3, which would be Vision of Escaflowne, Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, and Cowboy Bebop would be my top 3. I haven't seen that many others from start to finish, and the ones that I have, I didn't like enough that I would want to put them in a top thing. So that's what I'm going to go with. Does that mean that The Snowman is just a special, or just episode 6 of Series 7? No, The Snowman is a special because Series 7 was broken up into 2 halves with the Christmas special, The Snowman, landing in the middle. So, yes, that one still counts. I really like your hairstyle, by the way. Does it have a name? I want to get mine cut similar for my birthday. I mean, all that it is that I just have an undercut all the way around. That's I don't know if the style as a whole has a name, but like that's all it is I've just got all this, it's all an undercut, and like my hair falling the way it is, my part being there, that's just naturally where my hair wants to be parted anyways. So that just works. Let's see. I loved how you impersonated Meatwad on your Twitch stream. Yeah, I'm sure you did. Okay, I actually didn't forget, but I'm worried explaining why I was hold on. But I'm worried explaining why I was convinced I would maybe count as dead naming Natalie Wynn. I'm not sure I totally follow your question there, 255 AD. Your wording is throwing me off there. So I can't quite follow the inquiry. Every time I hear Nathaniel, I think of a song from the musical version of War of the Worlds. It is, the funny thing is, the funny thing for me is that I'm not used to hearing Nathaniel in fiction or entertainment, because most people in real life and in fiction don't go by the whole thing. They go by a shortened version. Nathan. They don't use the whole thing very often. So the few times that it happens, they stand out to me. Like, I did a TikTok a little while back, basically calling out specifically Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Because there is a character named Nathaniel. And if you know the show, then you know the reason they call him Nathaniel instead of anything shorter is because he's rich and spoiled and stuck up, and it's considered kind of the snooty, pompous way to do it is just to say the whole name. That's a great character. That's a great show, though. I was convinced I was misremembering your masculine name because it's also her dead name, and was convinced I was conflating. Oh, okay. I follow you now. Yeah, no worries about that. Sony's rebooting Stuart Little. Why? Why would you do that? ND Stevenson goes by Nate now, though I think not exclusively. For example, the ND is still in his Twitter bio. Yeah, I'd seen that. He's been going through a journey for a while, and it's been nice just to see him get his feet under himself over time. It's been really great. Greetings from Brazil. Greetings to you as well. You were spooked by Daniel Radcliffe's kid and the woman in black sharing your name, as I recall. Oh, I'd forgotten that was that kid's name. Oh, dang it. I had forgotten that. Thanks, Gozer. In the 2000s, DC, thoughts on writers turning Batman into a paranoid jerk who creates secret plans to take down the JLA and treating the Bat family like crap. So, I have very mixed feelings on that. On the one hand, I do think that in a vacuum, Batman having a plan on how to take down every member of the JLA, basically just in case they get mind controlled, turn evil, they have to deal with some kind of evil clone version, whatever, makes total sense. That is absolutely something almost any version of Batman could and should do. The level that it was taken to, and a lot of this was in the wake of Identity Crisis, which is one more reason to hate Identity Crisis. And look, given what happened in Identity Crisis and what Batman came to realize had happened, it gave him good justification for upping his level of paranoia. That didn't make it any more interesting to watch. It's the classic issue of, no, my issue isn't that this direction you've taken the character isn't explained or justified. It's that I don't like this direction for the character. It's not about the reason that the narrative reason that you have for doing it. It's that I just don't like it. So it kind of falls into that whole mess. And as far as treating the Bat family like crap, I don't remember how much of the specifics were going on at the time. But yeah, I do remember them in general. Really, it was decided they wanted to lean extra hard into loner Batman, which in the movies you can get away with because you can just set it up so there isn't the Bat family. But in the comics there is, and there's that history. So if you're going to try and do loner Batman, you have to somehow isolate him from the Bat family, and the way they decided to do that was just have him be a jackass, which Okay, sure. It's kind of like Iron Man making Hulkbuster. He knew Hulk would go rogue. Well, he didn't know, but he knew that if Hulk ever did, the risk was too great to not have a contingency for that. Bruce Wayne is a walking pile of trauma, so it kind of makes sense. Yeah, again, not making sense isn't the issue. Favorite soup? Probably clam chowder, New England clam chowder, which is the only way that I will eat clams or anything vaguely like clams. But again, it's nostalgia. I kind of grew up on it. Let's see. Have I ever watched Blake Seven? The actor who played Travis in the first series passed away. I have not. I did hear about that, though, because sort of a sci-fi group chat thing that I'm in had people in it who did watch Blake Seven, so that came up. So I did know about that, but no, I haven't. I haven't seen Blake Seven. My name itself is not uncommon, but my spelling of it is. It's even spelled wrong in our family association registry. What are the other animes that you have watched and why didn't you like them? Also, since you're having so much trouble thinking of series, I'll ask what are your top 5 anime movies? Okay, so the other animes that I have seen completely were Hellsing, like the original Hellsing, not Hellsing Ultimate. And the first half of Hellsing is really good, and then it goes completely off the rails, and it has a climax that has nothing to do with what had gone on up to that point. It's a mess. And then the other is Full Metal Alchemist, which I know, okay, this one's blasphemy, but I liked it enough to finish it. So I don't think it's bad, but I don't love it. And like even some of the ones that I would put on top 3, like Bebop, I have my reservations about. I did an entire video about some of my reservations about that show. But with Full Metal Alchemist, I got to the end and I'm like, that was fine. I don't ever need to watch it again. And like Cowboy Bebop, I did want to watch again, and I did do a rewatch. But yeah, it just didn't quite work for me. And I tried. I've heard people say that Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is better. I tried to watch it, but it wasn't different enough to be interesting to me, at least not early on. And I was not prepared to slog through however many episodes it was going to be of effectively the same thing I'd already seen in order to get to the new stuff. So that's where that's at. One of my controversial opinions is if someone like Superman actually existed, they should be killed because them ever having something like a mental break would be too much of a risk. I mean, that point of view is effectively what they decided to have Batman feel in Batman v Superman. I don't agree with that view. However, I do think there are plenty of story possibilities to be had by giving other characters in the story that view. And sometimes that is part of, rarely all, but sometimes that is part of Lex Luthor's motivation towards hating Superman, and that tracks. But if we were to actually project a Superman character into real life, I would not take that position. But I would not disagree that having the means to stop them would be a very good idea. Starts humming the Hellsing theme and fanning myself. I do have that to thank for Hellsing. Is one of my most performed burlesque numbers is to the opening theme of the original Hellsing, a song called A World Without Logos. I have a Hat and Cane burlesque number. That is probably the burlesque number I perform more than any other. I love that number. And I will always be thankful for the Hellsing show, even though I think it falls apart really badly. I will always be thankful to it for introducing me to that song. Have you heard of Steins Gate? It's an anime focused on time travel. That's a unique take on the concept. It's pretty high concept, basically. They send texts back in time. I have heard of it. I have not watched it. At this point, here's the thing. I think back a decade, and most of the animes that I didn't get around to just had to do with I had a feeling I wasn't going to like them enough. These days, there's enough things that I hear about, and I'm like, that does sound interesting, but like, animes have gotten longer and gone on for more time. And so now a lot of them are massive time commitments, and I'm just like, no. I can't. What are your thoughts on found footage movies like Backrooms or Creep? I do not enjoy found footage movies because they make me motion sick. I bailed on them fully after seeing, or trying to see, Cloverfield in the theater. I had to rush out and throw up into a trash can. And I did go back in after that and ended up watching most of the movie with my eyes closed and having to figure out what was going on based on the shouts of the characters. So, my thought on found footage movies is that. Bleh. Do I like the song Highway to Hell by AC/DC? It's fine. I actually don't know it that well other than the chorus. Not liking the first Full Metal Alchemist isn't all that controversial. Plenty of people don't like it that much. You said... Oh, you never said top 5 anime movies. Oh, all right. Sorry about that, Alyssa. Top 5 anime movies. So I'm going to place these in no particular order. Well, I can still tell you which one is my number one. So my number one is Summer Wars. Others, in no particular order, would include My Neighbor Totoro, Ghost in the Shell, Princess Mononoke, and I'm trying to round it out. Thinking. Give me a second. Probably Millennium Actress. Either that or Perfect Blue. Either one of those for the 5th spot. Why do you think Batman has so many more interesting villains than Superman? I feel like Batman has about 10 iconic villains, but Superman only has like 2. Well, I think part of it has to do with the fact that since Superman has a much greater degree of superpowers, you have to come up with, like, the number of things that could actually threaten Superman in one way or the other, it's much more limited. Because Batman's just a guy, you can go wilder with the gimmicks. Because theoretically, anybody with a gun could stop Batman. So they don't have to have a certain minimum power level to be a viable threat. Because that's the thing with most of Batman's villains. They don't have superpowers. They have mental disorders and a gimmick. But you can't threaten Superman with nothing but that, but you can be a threat to Batman with nothing but that. And it just frees it up to go wilder and go more out there. And when you have that ability to just throw a lot more things at the wall, more of them are going to stick. I think that's what it comes down to. I'm assuming you've never seen the Blair Witch Project. I've seen most of it. I was actually working at a movie theater when it came out, the year that it came out. I saw most of it, not in order. I'll be 1 year on estrogen in a few days. Oh, Louise, that's great. I'm very happy for you. Who's the hottest Doctor Who villain and why is it Mr. Finch? I do love Mr. Finch, but it might be Missy. It might be Missy. That's another huge mistake the DCEU made. No Batman Rose Gallery. He barely even met both of their Jokers. The DCEU, There's going to be a video on the current state of the DC movies early into the new year, because James Gunn said there were going to be announcements once we were into the new year about what he was actually planning, because right now we just know all the stuff that's been canceled. So I'm waiting on him saying what they are planning to do, and then there will be a video on that. I really dig the World of Cardboard speech Superman gave in Justice League Unlimited. It's so good. And, I got Justice League Unlimited complete series for Christmas, which is especially good because HBO Max is taking that show off their goddamn stupid streaming service. But that speech is brilliant. I exist in a world of cardboard. I have to always hold back. I have to be careful unless someone gets hurt. But you can take it, can't you, big guy? Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Hottest Doctor Who companion. Ooh. Ooh. Leela. She's in a leather bikini and she has a knife. It's Leela. Supremo Mega, thank you once again for the super chat. On Superman, it's ironic that the TV adaptation like the 90s Lois and Clark and Smallville seemed to be more successful than the cinematic versions. Well, I think part of that was, especially at the time when they started airing, the expectations of TV were also just lower. And I don't mean that as the disparagement that it sounds like. Because I'm not going like, well, they didn't have to be that good. I meant like they were given the leeway to grow and explore things without being like, you better hit this minimum level of fan pleasing the way that the movies do. So like, there's always a lot more pressure put on the movies than the shows for stuff like that. I think that view is only reasonable if other super beings exist and we need him. Then we need him to defend us against. That we need him to defend us against. I don't fully agree with that, but I don't really want in this space today to get into a philosophical argument on the merits of murdering Superman if he existed in reality. Yeah, I don't really want to go too much further down that road. I'm not in the headspace, and I don't have the spoons for that conversation today. Are there more Big Finish reviews soon? Yes, I plan to do another box set of Ninth Doctor adventures in the near future. Not making any promises as to when that will be. But yes, that is planned. Ace and the Tux from Ghostlight. Yowza. Ghostlight's one I need to rewatch. How long ago did you watch Full Metal Alchemist? If it was when it first came out in 2003, do you think you would be more willing to watch Brotherhood now since it's been so long? No, I watched it in 2011. I think I watched it. Like, I still have pretty decent memories of it. And I just, like, even understanding that Brotherhood is better, like, it's still the same core premise. It's still the same core characters, which didn't enthrall me all that much. Like, again, I liked it enough to finish it, but not enough to revisit it. And I would consider Brotherhood a revisitation, even if it is in some ways different. Like, maybe my opinion would be different if I just watched Brotherhood first. I didn't. So, and I'm not sure it was out, or at least it wasn't finished by the time I watched the original Full Metal Alchemist. So, like, I don't know what to tell you. I can only present you the perspective that I have. Did you watch Neon Genesis Evangelion? Nope. Only Only mech suit style thing that I have ever gotten all the way through was Vision of Escaflowne, which I like a great deal. How far did you make it into American Horror Story? I love the first 4 seasons, but I'm struggling to get into Hotel. Hotel was the last one I watched. So that I've seen 5 seasons of American Horror Story. Season 1 is fine. I like season 2, Asylum, a lot. I have a lot of issues with Coven, did a whole video on it. I like season 4, I like Freak Show quite a bit. Hotel Hotel had some good individual episodes, but it never pulled together all the way. And the characters were still great, but like, story-wise, I was just starting to feel like this is way too uneven. Any actors I'd want for Knives Out 3? Nope. Not off the top of my head. I just want more. So I'm actually, thank you for the reminder, Carowin. I'm going to hop over to the Discord real quick to tackle questions from there, from Patreon supporters. So I will be back presently. Let me see here. Where am I? I'm in the wrong thing here. Here we go. End of the year questions for the last live stream. What of the videos produced this year was the most successful and fulfilling to make? 2 different questions. The most successful video was the first one I did this year on Ezra Miller, annoyingly. The most fulfilling was a video actually over on the Vera Wild channel about OnlyFans content creators. I'm real proud of that video. Almost nobody watched it, but that was very fulfilling to finish, and I'm really proud of that one. What's the best favorite show, movie, seen, or reviewed this year? Unfortunately, I can't answer that one because that would effectively serve as a spoiler for this Saturday's video, which is going to be my top 10 things that I took in this year, because that'll include movies, video games, and TV. So can't answer that one. What's the best Babylon 5 episode so far that you've reviewed? Ooh, okay. Hold on a second. I gotta pull up a list real quick. So give me a second on that. Let me get the episode list. Here we are. I liked By Any Means Necessary a lot. Honestly, that one might still currently be my favorite. Or maybe And Now for a Word, because I thought for that style thing it was well formatted. There are a fair number of ones in the conversation, but those are the 2 sort of leaping to my head right now. So, let's see. Back to the Discord. How do you feel about fictional stories where a writer has some sort of outsider, usually an alien or time traveler, visit our Earth so they can use that character to express what they think is odd or bad about society? It's a fairly common conceit. It can be well done. It is also one of those conceits that can unfortunately lean into similar observations all the time, or if it leans too far into like kind of turning into a cringe humor thing, or if it leans maybe a little bit too heavy on like, and here are all the ways that you are bad. But it can be done very well. So like just a quick example of it being done well, actually from a Babylon 5 episode. I forget which episode it was, but there's one where Ivanova is showing this this very supremacist-minded species that believes themselves to be superior to pretty much every other race around the station, and showing, when Ivanova shows them basically the slum decks, and how there are people who, they're down on their luck, they end up here, and these aliens are like, oh, this is wonderful. You have found a method where those who are of lesser value to society are shunted away and put here. This is excellent. And it does a really good job of taking a species that we've already learned is kind of horrible, having them praise humanity for something that, yeah, happens in like not just in the fictional society, but like in our society, and they're being like, this is wonderful, we love that, and you're like, oh crap. So like you can definitely do it well. It is a concept that you have to be careful how you go about it, because there's a lot of cliches and lazy ways to do it, but it's not an inherently bad idea. When, if ever, is something being for kids an excuse for world building that doesn't make total sense? So recently, Lily Simpson put out a 10-hour video pointing out absolutely everything she dislikes about the Harry Potter universe. A lot of stuff she pointed out I agree is bad because it's problematic, legal slavery, anti-Semitism, etc. But I feel like some of the stuff mentioned was kind of pedantic, given the books were created as escapism for tweens. Like she said, you'd have to have English taught at Hogwarts for the wizarding world to have print media, which is true, but I'm not sure it matters. Yeah, like that is pedantic. And honestly, that's not even about it being kids' media. I would think that's a pedantic thing to point out for an adult-targeted piece of work too, especially a fantasy. Like, there's magic. There's literal magic. Anyone who's going to get that uppity, especially on a fantasy premise, no. But like, I think where you can like discard it with things targeted at kids is anything going for a more fairy tale feel. Because when you do fantasy, there is, for lack of a better way to put it, there's sort of hard magic fantasy where things have clear rules. Then there's soft magic fantasy, which is your realm of fairy tales, where basically anything can happen because, well, it just can. And if that's the kind of story that you're telling, you either accept that that's the case, or you should just bail on the story because it's not for you. And yeah, there's plenty to dislike about Harry Potter, but stuff like that. And again, like, for some people, maybe that kind of thing just gets stuck in their head and they can't let it go. I have stuff like that too. But that doesn't make it an actual deep flaw of the work. That's kind of a CinemaSins approach to criticism, which I don't find helpful. Speaking of which, something I was wondering is, what would you do if someone paid you to review everything by J.K. Rowling or just related to Harry Potter and weren't able to get it used? Don't worry, not planning anything, just curious. Well, okay, I still technically have my Harry Potter stuff. It is all packed away. It's out of sight. It's in a box in the attic. I haven't had the heart to actually eject it from my house yet. I might one day, or I might just leave it up there. But the thing is, like, I have reviewed Harry Potter. I did movie reviews for the entire series through the second Fantastic Beasts. And if somebody was like, well, do a review of the books, I'm like, you know what? Triple my normal fee for a book. That's what I would say. In regards to your specific question, which seemed to be about how would I acquire those in a way that didn't benefit her, I still have them. So that part isn't an issue. I would very much deliberately charge extra if anyone tried to get me to review the movies. I point out I already did. If they wanted me to review the books, triple the normal fee. If they wanted me to review the Fantastic Beasts movie that I haven't seen yet, 5 times the fee. Because that is a recent thing, and if they want me to review the video game, I would tell them no. Flatly no. So, there you go. Favorite way to spend New Year's. Also, happy holidays and hope 2023 is awesome for you and yours. I don't know if I have a favorite way. Because, like, I've done the gathering with people. I've done just, my immediate family in front of the TV. I've done the big party. They're all nice. And it's kind of nice to, like, break it up from year to year so it's not the same thing every time. So I don't have a set favorite way. Do you think there is a way? Do you think it's possible to create a heroic main character that's an XP of the Doctor? I don't know what XP means, but I guess it means like equivalent. Space-time travel included, and it not be called a Doctor Who ripoff. Or is the character of the Doctor too much of an ingrained character for the concept to work outside of the series? You're gonna have to tinker with the nature of the heroism. So, when you are doing something that is similar to a very popular and very well-known piece of work, You can have leeway in one of two areas. You can do something very similar to the character types and put them in new settings, or you can use a similar premise but with different character types. If you recreate both the premise and the character type, it's going to be called a ripoff. So you would have to make alterations to the character, whether it be to make them gruffer and more sort of jaded, kind of like a Rip Hunter style character, or, you know, and there's any number of things that you could do. But like if the character has a super similar general outlook and moral compass as the Doctor, or most incarnations of the Doctor, since that's inconsistent anyways, and also you're using the same space-time travel core premise, yeah, no, you need to shake it up. Because recreating one or the other, like, you've got leeway. Recreating both, With Knives Out and Glass Onions being hits, would you say we could see a bigger revival of the classic world's greatest detective archetype? I hope not. Here's why. It is so easy to do that really badly. Like, I love Knives Out, and I love Glass Onion, and I love good detective stories. I love Columbo, I love Poirot, I love Nick Charles. I don't need the world's greatest detective archetype to become any more popular than it currently is, for the very specific reason that I know what happens when people who don't know how to do it right try to do it, which is what always happens when things come out that are just imitating the popular thing. Because the way that goes badly is you don't write a super smart detective, you just write everybody else is an idiot. So they are smart by default because everyone else is stupid. And I hate that. And because I don't want to see that, no, I don't really want to see the archetype become any more far spread. I'm really happy to see it back with Benoit Blanc, but I don't need more. Now I've read the Nemesis series. Sorry, folks, there has been a decent number of these. We're almost done. Now that I've read the Nemesis series, Dreadnought and Sovereign, I've read other original superhero prose novels. So my question is, what would you say makes for better prose superhero costumes? Something basic or more elaborately described to mimic what might be on a comic page? Or would using a hero in the public domain be a better option as a point of reference? It's hard for me to say because visual descriptions aren't my strong suit with my own writing. I don't think I'm terrible at them, but like I'm not super great at them. So I don't know what would be the better way to do it. And I don't think there's a default because like theoretically, whether the costume is more basic or more elaborate should be more about what that says about the character than whether it communicates inherently better or worse on the page. So I actually don't think I can come at that question from an angle where I'm actually in a position to answer it well, if that makes sense. This is the first Christmas New Year's without a new Who episode since the start of the Revive era. Do you miss it? I do, but I also recognize it's why we got the trailer on Christmas Day. Somewhat to my annoyance, but... Do you think RTD is trolling fans nicely with Beep the Meep and saying, look at the flack you gave Chibnall for the Pating versus the love I'll get for this? I think he's trolling fans insofar as, let me take something that you assumed could never be taken seriously and do it anyways. I don't think Chibnall or the Pating are any part of his calculation for selecting this. Unless my opinion might change when we start to see this stuff, but I do not expect that anything that RTD is going to do is going to be intended as a response to Chibnall's era at all. I just don't think he's going to do that. In the spirit of the season, is it better to give or to receive? Ideally, both. Simultaneously, if you're limber. All right, I am now back in the main chat. Thank you for your patience, folks. Hello, Jeffrey. Hello, Real Life Jolie. Good to see folks in here. Columbo was great because he never actually acted like the world's greatest detective, usually kept his genius as a secret to the person being investigated. That part was great about him. That's also part of why I really like Nick Charles, because Nick Charles, everyone knows he's a great detective, but he's also a drunk. And not like the grizzled detective drunk. He's a party drunk. He's a happy drunk. He's a functional alcoholic. But people underestimate him because they assume, oh, his days of being a great detective are behind him. Like, no, they're not. How about a Murder, She Wrote reboot? No! You can't recast Angela Lansbury. No. Got some more super chats came in. Our philosophy is, thank you for the super chat, how long before they say Jodie was the last good doctor? I'd say once we get to whatever doctor is after Ncuti Gatwa, some people will then start saying that. 255 AD. Did you see the second part of my first Discord question? Because it was sort of important to why I asked. I did. I did see it. It felt like context that the folks in the chat didn't need. And my answer doesn't change based off not having said the second half of that first question. I did see it. I factored it into my answer. But it was context that I didn't think the chat needed. So I'm worried about coming out as bi-gender to my dad. Not because I think he'll be mad, but I think he might not care for good and ill, so might not respect my pronouns and such. That is tough. And unfortunately, there's no magic phrase that you can say that will ensure that you are understood and respected. Depending on the nature of your relationship with your father, hopefully, if he understands that it matters to you, even if it doesn't inherently matter to him, maybe he'll still try. I don't know. I don't know him. But if this is who you are and you are at a point in your life where you need the people who you care about to know, it's probably still a good idea to tell him. It's going to be nerve-wracking. And if you are very lucky, you will stress yourself out more than ends up being warranted. You will work yourself up, be convinced that it's going to go badly, have the conversation and realize, oh, I got so worked up over not all that much. And I hope that's the outcome you get. Excuse me, I've got hiccups now. I was trying to say that I had an idea of what to make you review next time I actually have some extra money in my pocket because of the Poirot mention. Ooh. Well, intriguing, Real Life Jolie. Harry Dubois is a beautiful exploration of the detective's mentality. I'm not familiar with Harry Dubois. I've heard the name. Drawing a blank, though. Mom's side of the family is all supportive. Mom struggled with the pronouns, but is trying. And she has got good in not calling me her daughter, at least. I mean, and that's the other thing. Even the people who want to are especially, I don't mean to sound ageist about it, but especially older folks, it's going to take more work because they're likely not used to making the change. And they've also known you, especially in the case of parents, your whole life. So that's a lot of time worth of ingrained habits to get to shift. The overlap between detective tropes and autism tropes sure is a thing. Oh, it is. I mean, and it makes sense, too. A lot of folks on the autism spectrum become hyper-aware of details. So, yeah, no, it makes sense. If I were going to recommend you an anime, what kind of anime would you want to be recommended? Oh, God, I don't even know. The thing is, trying to think of the easiest way to put this. The reason I don't watch a ton of anime shows is anime shows are far more likely to engage in the kind of stuff that puts me off anime than anime movies are. Because, so, regardless of genre, and regardless of anything else, any random anime that I pick, there is about a 50-50 chance that I'm going to run into a bunch of tropes I can't stand, with excessive sexualization of, usually a young woman, of this whole, like, no nosebleed, oh, she's so hot, thing, of the massive exaggerated, like, the tear streams are all the way there, and the face is like, I hate all that. I hate it. And I know it's trope, and I know in some cases it is done because that's like a very clear way to bring a sense of emotion across on a very low budget, because I understand a lot of these things, or at least the point at which these things got ingrained as tropes, were being done to save money. And I understand why they're there. And I understand part of it is cultural, but I hate that stuff. And it shows up way more in the shows than it does in the movies. And yeah, I mean, to kind of pull from Yahtzee Croshaw, he talked about how he's selective with his options for anime, and he cites things like the blatant fetishization of young female characters, of the tropes of, like, you can't have an anime protagonist older than 25. If they're 30, they're called the old man. This huge, massive focus on the power of friendship, et cetera, et cetera. And the way he put it was like, and yes, I know not every anime does these things, but I think if I were to do a random sample of animes, it would just be a matter of time before one or more of these things would happen. And I'm kind of with him on that. Sorry, it's just I decided to re-listen to the story after the commission, and I was like, I get why Banks wrote this in the Reagan area, but my go-to is it. But my gosh, is it preachy? I mean, I'll make that determination when I get there. Like, if you're gonna pull something apart, I'm certainly not against pulling apart Reagan era, just world, U.S. especially. Ugh. We are going to wrap up soon. Just to let you know, I'm hanging out a little longer than I might otherwise, because the Discord questions took me a little while. My brother was the first I came out to, which was great. That's wonderful. I was struggling to accept myself as my gender changed, and he told me humans are soups of hormones, and it's all totes normal. That's great. That's wonderful. I get that so much. I'm very picky about the anime that I like. Yeah. And, like, again, I understand, like, the things that make me go, ugh, don't appear in every anime, but they appear in enough, and I don't know how to look up, does X anime do this trope or not? I don't know if anybody's cataloging that. Death Note doesn't have that. Good to know. I have Death Note, I hear is very good. I have not gotten to it. You know what would be cool? A team of world's greatest detectives that drive around in a cool van cross-country, solving crimes, led by Velma, Detective Chim, Plastic Man, Frylock. Plastic Man? Did you mean Elongated Man? Because he's the actual detective. Plastic Man's just a loon. But anyways, I think we are going to wrap it up pretty soon. Aside from the controversy with the number 10 spot, which of Todd's worst song picks were you most shocked by? I wasn't really shocked, other than the number 10. I wasn't really shocked by any of them. That said, this is easily the year where there were the most songs that I'm like, oh, I kind of like that song, that were on his list. Again, I get why he doesn't like them, but I'm also like, guess I'm just a basic bitch. The story is the culture discovers Earth and talk about how much it sucks. Honestly, I'm kind of in the mood lately where I'm okay to be told how much we suck, because, like, Somebody else can list the reasons so I don't have to come up with them, because there's oh, there's plenty. Oh well. Thank you everybody for joining me. I hope next time we do this, it'll be the new year. So I hope you have a good remainder of 2022. So tomorrow on Twitch at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, I will be playing, I think we settled on Lost Ruin. I think. Didn't we, Carolyn? Remind me? I think we settled on Lost Ruin. So there's that. New Take-Two Doctor Who review will also be out tomorrow. Saturday is going to be my top 10 pieces of entertainment of 2022. Also Friday, I'll be streaming on Twitch again. And I think that about does it for the immediate upcoming stuff. John Vinyls sneaking in there with the super chat. Thank you very much. Kipo is really good, by the way. Scarlemagne is a lot like Professor Radigan. He is a bit, isn't he? Slightly more unhinged. But yeah, a bit. Oh, that hadn't occurred to me. Kipo was quite good. That was a good show. But anyways, thank you everybody for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, wonderful rest of the week, a wonderful rest of 2022. Cheers. And so what I really want you to remember is to be well, be safe, be kind, and remember that you are beautiful, you are valid, and you are loved. You are the council. I'm just running the meetings, and until next time, this council is adjourned. McCavity!